Hello and welcome to this lecture on lattice-Boltzmann method. So today's lecture is on the Boltzmann's H theorem, which was actually derived by Boltzmann in 1872, and there are quite a few features and quite a few reasons why this theorem is important. The first reason is that it was the first one to provide a molecular basis for the natural tendency of a physical system to approach and acquire a state of equilibrium. So it had a molecular basis because we are dealing with particles and probabilities. So this described that a natural the natural tendency of any fluid in our case will be to acquire a state of equilibrium, so it will approach in a certain way and acquire it eventually. The second thing was that it also it was able to establish a connection between the microscopic approach, which is what is the basis for the lattice-Boltzmann equation, and the phenomenological thermodynamics. So that connection was established using this approach. Finally, it also provided a method for computing entropy from microscopic considerations. So this is essentially what we will look at in today's lecture. Now, so we begin by first defining what this function h is. So function h is actually the integral of f log f over the velocity space, where what I'm going to do is I'm going to write d3 xi as d xi x, d xi y, d xi z. So that's basically a volume element in the xi space. Now this is the function which is actually in terms of the microscopic distribution or the probability distribution function. So to derive what is the key property of h, we first look at the evolution equation for this distribution, for our distribution function f. So recall that we wrote df dt plus xi beta df dx beta plus f beta by rho df d xi beta is omega f, where omega is a collision operator, f is our distribution function, f beta is essentially the components of the force, and I'm using index notation here. So basically xi beta, for example, xi beta df dx beta would become xi x df dx plus xi y df dy plus xi z df dz. So I'm using the Einstein index notation. So what we'll do is, for now I'll consider a special case, although the same mathematics can also be done for the more general case, but that is slightly more difficult to prove here. So what I'll do is I'll assume that the force is 0, so there are no external force in the system. So we'll say no external forces. So we'll have df dt plus xi beta df dx beta to be omega f, and let me multiply this equation by log of f plus 1. So what do we get? We'll get 1 plus log f df dt plus xi beta 1 plus log f df dx beta to be 1 plus log f omega f. Now note that it should actually become clear why I have multiplied by 1 plus log f, but if you note that d by dt of f log f would be log f into df dt plus f into 1 by f df dt, which becomes 1 plus log f df dt. And similarly I can write d by dx beta into xi beta of f log f will come out to be xi beta 1 plus log f df dx beta. So using these two properties, I can now simplify this equation. So what we can write is d by dt of f log f plus xi beta d by dx beta of f log f will be 1 plus log f omega f. Now to obtain my function h, or to actually obtain an equation for the evolution of this function h, which is what we are trying to achieve, and that's what was the key contribution of Boltzmann in deriving this function, what I can do is I can integrate this equation now. I can integrate this equation over the entire velocity space. So we can write d by dt of f log f d3 xi plus d by dx beta of integral xi beta f log f d3 xi is omega f 1 plus log f d3 xi, and here notice that I have pulled out the d by dx beta because xi is essentially not a function of space. It's actually an independent variable in its own right, because we are writing f, if you recall, we are writing f to be a function of x xi t. Now what I can also do is the right hand side I can break into integral omega f d3 xi plus omega f log f d3 xi, and now if you go back to the earlier lectures, you will notice that this integral is actually 0. So this number drops out, and now if I look on the left hand side, what do I have? I have this to be function h, so we'll have d h of dt plus, if you now look at the other function, which is this function, we essentially have integral of xi beta f log f d3 xi, and it actually, this whole d by dx beta of xi of integral of this function actually is sort of like the convective or the advective flux of h. So this will become equal to integral omega f log f d3 xi, where I am saying that h beta is the advective flux of h, which is integral xi beta f log f d3 xi. Okay, now I can write my final equation as, let me choose the original color. So we have dh dt plus dh beta dx beta to be integral omega f log f d3 xi. Now to take it a little further, I am going to take a very special form of the collision operator that is essentially what we have been using throughout this course. So I will choose omega f to be equal to f equilibrium minus f by tau. Okay, so we'll get the right hand side would become integral f eq minus f by tau log of f, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this as f by f eq d3 xi plus integral omega of f, which is the same function f eq minus f by tau, which is a BGK operator. So this is the BGK form of the collision operator. So this omega f into log f equilibrium d3 xi, where essentially I've added and subtracted the log f equilibrium term. Now here again I'm not going to prove something, but this is some much more rigorous mathematics which I cannot complete in this small time. This integral actually goes to 0 when you substitute the form of the equilibrium function, which is the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution. So what we are left with is just 1 by tau into I'm going to pull out an F equilibrium, 1 minus F by F equilibrium log of F by F equilibrium d3 xi. So finally what we have is dH by dt plus dH beta dx beta is equal to 1 by tau F equilibrium 1 minus F by F equilibrium log F by F equilibrium d3 xi. Now this is the reason we did this, was to prove something on the right hand side actually. So if I look at this function, especially 1 minus F by F equilibrium into log of F by F equilibrium. So say F by F equilibrium is some dummy variable x. So what we have is x, or rather 1 minus x into log x is some function y. Now you will, if you want to plot, let's say if you plot this function over a 2D plot, so let's say this is x, okay, and this is y, of course. So what I mean is this is the negative of y, this is the origin. For x greater than 0, which is the case, F by F equilibrium, F is a probability density, F equilibrium is also a probability density, so the ratio of them will be a number which is greater than 0. So for any x greater than 0, which is the case, the product of 1 minus x to log x will actually always be less than or equal to 0. And in fact this function would be somewhat like this. This is 1 minus x log of x. So it becomes 0, or the function becomes 0 when x is 1, and for any other value, whether x is less than, between 0 and 1, or if x is more than 1, this function 1 minus x into log x would always be less than 0. So what it means is that 1 minus F by F equilibrium into log of F by equilibrium is always less than or equal to 0, and it's 0 only when F is equal to F equilibrium. And so we have dH dt plus dH beta dx beta, which was equal to integral F equilibrium 1 by tau of 1 minus F by F equilibrium log of F by F equilibrium d3 xi. So this function being always less than 0, the integral, the sum, the area under that curve is also always 0. Okay, now if I observe the left hand side, so what I'm saying is dH dt plus dH beta dx beta is less than 0. If I observe the left hand side, it is sort of like the total derivative of h, or the substantial derivative of h. Okay, so what it means is that with time h is always decreasing. And so now we come to the inferences of this theorem. The first inference is that h is not conserved. So it is not the same, does not remain the same with time, it keeps changing, and it changes in a very specific way, that it never increases but decreases until the distribution function, which is f, right, the distribution function f reaches an equilibrium value. That would be the point at which h achieves its minimum value. Okay, so h, this function h, is an ever decreasing function, and now this may sound familiar to something else. In fact, that was the whole idea that I said, that it can be used to compute or to correlate entropy. So h is analogous to entropy now, because we know that entropy is always increasing and h is always decreasing. So what was a contribution, especially for ideal gases? For ideal gases, we have h to be proportional to minus rho into s, where s is the entropy, rho is the density. So what it means is that since h is decreasing, you can now clearly see that s will always be increasing. So you will have a state of gas trying to, or rather going through various states until it hits the point at which the gas has achieved equilibrium. Okay, and that would be the point where you have this function h to be no longer changing, or rather in that case entropy no longer changing. So the equilibrium condition is what the system will be driven towards. Now there are some more inferences of the Boltzmann's H theorem, but those are slightly more complicated, which I'm not going to bring about here. I think for this understanding of the concept, I think this is the key idea. So if this can be understood in the form that I have explained, which is I've taken a very easy approach actually to bring about this function. So this should actually tell you that this function h, which is again a function of the distribution function, is actually what satisfies the three conditions that I started the lecture with, the three ideas of the Boltzmann H theorem. Okay, so I will end this short lecture here. Thank you for listening, and see you next time.